I've been asked in the comment section about sharpening my plane blades and chisels. I tend to grind a lot. It makes sharpening a lot quicker. These are two plane blades, 2 3/8, so they're like the number 6 and the number 7. I think of a number 4.5 as well. I use them a lot, the longer planes, but it's taken me 27 years to wear those down. So grinding a lot is no big deal really. That's a block plane that's worn down to nothing. That's the original one. And I bought a load of spare blades because I tended to have them all sharpened, and then I could just switch them around to keep the job moving on. Also did a bit of site work as well, so I like to take a few spare blades that were already sharp and just switch them around, because I always took a block plane with me. That's the shortest that's still of any use. So you know, it takes a bit of work to get them ground down to nothing. Chisels, this is a 1 1/4. I always liked this one, I used it an awful lot. That's what it was. This is a new one, it's barely been used. So that's the original length. So it's taken, you know, 27 years to wear that down. This another one I use a lot, which is 7/8. That would have been a similar sort of length. So if you can wear one of these down, you've certainly had your money's worth. Usually I don't grind right up to the tip. I grind most of it away, so it's a bit more than that. This one's been chipped a bit, so this needs a lot taking off. And then when I sharpen, I leave it flat on that bevel, so it takes a bit off the tip and a bit off the heel. And I'll keep doing that, I'll keep resharpening it. And it starts going usually more at the edges, because you sort of lean a bit more sometimes. And that grinding gets smaller and smaller, which means sharpening takes longer. So when it gets to about that stage, I'll regrind it. That one is quite bad, and it's actually rounded over quite a bit. These are all my dead blades. So the reason I regrind a lot, it's just quicker to sharpen then, because you haven't got to take off that much material. I do the majority of my grinding on the Tormek. I do have another one, I have the small one as well. But before that, I used to use a dry grinder, which is that one. I do have another one, but this one's on a heavy cast iron base, so it's a bit better. The supports aren't adjustable, so I did make this. I can't remember how I fixed it on. I think it was on another piece of wood underneath, but I only use this for the wood turning tools. But for grinding plane blades and chisels, I used to use a different method. So I'll show you how I did it with this one, which is, I think this have a record or something. It's no good anymore. It's a 2-inch. It's out of me Woden. It's a bit pitted on this side, so you can't get a good edge on it unless you put a secondary bevel on this side. So if you've got one that's a bit pitted, if you put a secondary bevel on it on the other side, you'll get a good edge. But I just didn't bother, just bought a new blade. So the way I used to do it was, I'd eye up where it needed to be, and then just clamp on a piece of wood on the back. Make sure this has got a straight edge, and just make sure that it's square. You can just use a marker just to check where it's grinding. Put my mask on because it's dry grinding, I don't want to breathe in that stuff in, and I've got a pan of water down there to keep dipping the blade in, keep it cool. I just cleaned up the wheel with a diamond dressing tool. It can be a little bit tricky when you go past that hole in the middle because it can drop down, so you need to put more pressure over here. This is the jig that comes with the Tormac for doing chisels and plane blades. And you can actually buy one of these as an attachment for your dry grinder, so if you want to use it on there with these jigs you can. So this is the blade with a chipped edge, so do the same thing again, mark it up. You can see where it's grinding, that's about right. Stone soaks up a lot of water, so make sure you keep topping it up. You can redress the stone with this, so it's either coarse or fine, and if it goes out of shape or not square, you can true it up with this, which has got a little diamond thing on it, and that runs along this bar. So the Waterstone's giving it a good finish, and it's nice and square, but so did the dry grinder. The only problem with dry grinding is you have to be careful that you don't get blue edge on it. So when it gets close to that tip, when you're grinding, dip the blade in water after each stroke, because if it goes blue, it won't hold an edge. So this is what I'm using for sharpening at the moment. Originally I started with oil stones, then I moved on to water stones, and then this. I would like to change to diamond as well. That's the only diamond one I've got. It's a little one, which sometimes I use if one of my chisels is beginning to go. I don't really need to get the Tormac out, and I can just tidy up on this and then move on to these. These are actually a bit worn out, I need to change them. So you just get it on rolls of sticky backed sandpaper, which is basically all it is. That's 2,500, 1,200 and an 800. Now they say you should stick it onto plate glass because it's flatter. This is just a bit of Iroko, but it's flat enough. I mean, you can see there's a high point, and that's what you're trying to avoid, but that's nothing to do with the wood. That's the actual glue underneath that's a little bit thicker there. So just stick it onto a bit of plywood or anything, it's fine. Like I say, these are actually worn out, they need changing, but they will work. Just a bit of water. So I'll start with the one I did on the dry grind. I just feel for the bevel. Start with the coarse one first. Doesn't need much because we've ground it and it's like your hollow ground, so it'll take a lot more off the tip. But this paper cuts a lot quicker when it's new. Just see a fine line where it's polished up. And move on to 2500. Try and get that burr off. I'll take quite a bit off this on the grinder. We also need to lift it up a little bit because that back's pitted on this one. And if your eyesight's as bad as mine, it's worth having one of these just to check the edge, get a proper look at it. And then also strop it with a bit of compound. I've got a couple. Well, this yellow one I think is a bit better. It's better on a piece of leather, but this works okay. Still got a burr on here because I've taken quite a lot off. You can do this on the tarmac, but it dubs the end over a bit. It's not so bad on planes, but you don't want to do it on your chisels because you want that back edge to be perfectly flat. This one doesn't matter because it's knackered anyway. It is sharp, but there is a nick in it. But seeing it's one I'm not using anyway, it doesn't really matter. So now I'll sharpen the one that I did on the tarmac. There was quite a burr on this because I had to take a lot off because it was a bit of a rough edge on it. I'd hit some glue or something. Just find that bevel again. That's nice and sharp. You can see there's not, if you can pick it up, there's not a lot that's been polished. Still a lot of that grinding visible. So you could do this several times, get a good edge, then stick it back on the tarmac and re-grind it. But you don't have to go right up to the edge unless you get nicks and things. So this is a 1.5" chisel with a long bevel on it, so it's easier to find and keep it flat. This is already fairly sharp anyway, so it doesn't need very much. won't do the back of it. I'll just do it on here. That's okay. So this is another small plain blade that's just been ground, and this is the Eclipse honing jig. You just check it's at the right angle, so it's just a pair of jaws, loosen that, move that up and down till it lines up where you want it, nip that up, and away you go. It's more accurate than doing it by hand, but it's just quicker if you don't use it. If you have any nicks on the edge of the blade, it's preferable to grind the end square and flat before you start grinding the angle on it. If you're using a dry grinder, it's more likely to go blue if you're grinding down to nothing, so it's safer that way. Waterstone it's not so bad, but it does give you quite a big burr on this side. And when you take that off, it ruins the edge, so it's better to actually square it up first and just grind it as much as you have to with the angle, so it's just there. Try not to get too much of a burr on that side, and then when you come to sharpening you get a better finish. And this is the one where I put the secondary bevel on. This is just a bit of redwood. Yeah, that nick you can feel. You can see where it splits, where the nick is.